To respond on this one is Stacey. And the question is, the NCR is currently represented by 4 regional directors with no specific area or department representation. What are your thoughts on the current structure? And would you see it being changed or improved? And if so, how? So again, reading it a second time. The NCR is currently represented by 4 regional directors with no specific area or department representation. What are your thoughts on the current structure? Would you see it being changed or improved? And if so, how? So please go ahead, Stacey.
Thank you, Lise. The NCR currently represented by 4 regional directors elected by our membership. They are the 4 directors that our members believe will do the best job possible at the board of directors to represent the members. So in my opinion, I don't see it being changed, and how it can be improved. The only way that it could be improved, in my opinion, is if the directors listen to the membership whenever the membership brings issue to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey. Second up on this one is Dave.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, being a current director, it is definitely an interesting question. I looked at, you know, possibly we could liaise with consultation teams within the departments, but, you know, that is something that consultation resides with consultation teams. You know, there's definitely a lot of work to go around amongst the 4 directors. I don't see that changing. You know, I'm definitely open to some ideas on how to spread out that work. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Next up is Greg. Greg, you're on mute. Want to try that again?
Sorry, I thought I had hit the button. I guess I didn't hit it hard enough. Thank you. Sorry. Thanks very much, Lise. So as a former NCR regional director, I've served 4 years, and I think the challenging aspect of having 4 NCR directors is making sure that the 4 NCR directors, first of all, get along and that can work collaboratively. I look across the screen of the fellow candidates, and I know I've worked with each and every single one of them, and know that I can continue to do that job by working with them. And I think that's where is the first step that's required, because I think what we really need to do to improve the 4 NCR directors working together is looking at what the strengths are each of the directors, and then of course also assigning some of the work that needs to be done. How we can move forward with that is really to land that structure. I know it's been talked about in the past whether or not, you know, do we really need 4 directors? Maybe we only need 2. You know, to carry out the job. But I think currently right now, with the amount of work that needs to be done over the next 3 years, I think moving forward with certainly the 4 directors and making sure that each one is assigned or works in collaboration with the other 3 NCR directors, that's how we are, as we like to say at PIPS, better together.
All right. Thank you, Greg. And Glenn, you're up next on this one.
Thank you. The question points out that currently we don't allocate for a specific area or a department. Specific area, does that mean bargaining group? Does that mean geographical area? Either which way, the short answer here is you can have some really well-intentioned prioritizing for allocating candidates. I personally, you know, I'm not saying it's perfect right now, but it's pretty darn good. It's not first past the post, it's first 4 past the post. You got a pretty good chance of getting 4 good representatives. And I also think 4 is about the right number for the NCR, and it is good proportional representation. You asked about the structure. The answer is the same as that one. The structure is probably not perfect, but it's probably pretty good. How to improve it? Essentially, I'm agreeing with a few of the other people that have commented before. It's really a matter of teamwork and cooperating and working together. That's really the challenge. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Glenn. Wahid, you're up next.
Thank you. I think that's a good question. No doubt that's a good question. And I know that at one time we had a discussion at the board, and I made a presentation to the consultation team presidents as the working group on consultation, where I offered to them, not just the NCR directors, but all other directors, the regional directors, to say these are resources available to you. So it's in your interest to invite them, involve them, draw upon them. And I believe that the directors definitely have the potential to do more. Now, how will that work? Whether it's a structure, I find that the more bureaucratic, I am against the building bureaucracy. So I cannot say, let's build more structures. But I do think this is a good question. And I think divvying up work amongst colleagues and making sure that we reach to each and every member is the key. So I'm totally for it to say we can always do better. Yes, structure is working, but we can always do better. I'm totally in favor. I've been around for long, so people know me in every department in NCR, even outside of NCR, and I receive calls or emails on a daily basis. So the outreach is there, but I think I'm certainly open to the idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahib. Next up is Mark.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't foresee any changes to the structure. I think when you try to allocate work by modeling with separate groups, you run the risk of, not getting the best possible solutions. A lot of us here have been around for a long time, and we've got a lot of information we share with each other. A couple of years ago, I won Steward of the Year, and I said to everybody, I got it because of the people I knew that I work with in PIPs. I robbed everybody of their great ideas. And I think the best way to represent people is to have 4 directors who can, like a couple of people said, work together and share their knowledge of how they've dealt with situations and what's the best possible solution for the situations that arise and how to best represent our members and their concerns. I think changing that, you run the risk of losing that ability to communicate clearly and possibly provide the best possible representation. So no, I really don't see any changes coming. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. And next up is Matt.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, sort of because of the size of the NCR, that's why we have multiple directors to sort of balance off just the scale of the work, as those who've done the job have been saying. One thing we could possibly look at, if I'm understanding the question correctly about specific departments, we do in our group have a sort of fairly simple restriction that like no more than 3 of the members can be from the same group and department. So yeah, there may be some sort of common sense limit to make sure that not everyone's from the same department or something like that. But yeah, I don't think there's value in getting super prescriptive about it. Over.
All right, thank you. And last up on this one is Sherry.
Thank you very much. Well, given the work that I've done in other organizations, to me, to be honest, PIP's organization with directors is a bit of a head scratcher, because we seem to have made the director subordinate to the executive rather than the normal way for a board of directors actually oversees what the executive are doing. And the executive are then go to the board of the directors, explain what they're doing, and get their direction from the board of directors. That's the way it normally works, whether nonprofit, for-profit corporations. So the way we've got it sort of evolved here is, like I said, it's a head scratcher for me. So what we can do with 4 directors is, to me, I would look at the governance structure. There's a lot of horsepower in the room. All of my fellow candidates are really good at what they do. I've got no doubt that we could move forward in really good ways. Does it mean we allocate out responsibilities in terms of portfolios? That's currently seems to be the way it's done. I'd rather see it in terms of a bigger picture stuff, such as engagement, retention, outreach, big portfolio types of titles that people could take on. with the rest of the Institute, providing the inputs that the directors need for the right oversight that they need to do on behalf of all of the members. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sherry. And unless I'm mistaken, that was it for question 3. We have one more question and closing statements left. Je vais passer au français pour la 4e question. First up will be Glenn. Alors, la question, comment allez-vous vous assurer que les voix des membres sont entendues au conseil d'administration? Encore, comment allez-vous vous assurer que les voix des membres sont entendues au conseil d'administration? Glenn, you're up.
Pretty straightforward question. If you're going to try and ensure that members' voices are heard at the board, I would imagine step 1 is understanding what the members are voicing. Step 2 would be then communicating what they are voicing to the board. What the members are feeling, that's an interesting one. That means you have to be in touch with people. You can do it with surveys, you can do it with emails. One I've truly found quite surprising and actually enjoyed is the number of members who've contacted me in the last 4 months who I've never heard from before. And I know it's very much COVID related. And this has brought out some strong feelings and some opinions that I don't necessarily agree with, but I have to listen to them and respect their opinions, even though I don't always agree with them. The next one is how do you communicate? Well, you have to coalesce and assess that and try and maybe work with other members of the board of directors and then work together to communicate what the members are expressing. It's just common sense. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Glenn. Next up is Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I can add to what Glenn said. I think, you need to listen and understand what the needs are. But I sit on the PIP's advisory council and the working group on consultation, and these are people who show up for these meetings who represent people at all levels across Canada. We need to listen to them and understand what they're bringing forward, and they are there to voice the concerns of their members. They should be engaged more, as far as I'm concerned. There's that. We need to have a conduit that they can get to us quickly and easily, so that we can, even if whatever their issues are, we need to let them know we heard, let them know we understand. If we have questions, we should contact them directly, not necessarily always have to go through their conduit. And once we have it, it's our issue. We should raise it and we should deal with it directly, so that they know somebody has heard and that somebody is listening and directing that question or their queries or their concerns directly to the board. I think that's the only way to do it. Again, we do have we do have bodies in place that are our conduits, but I think it gets stalled perhaps, or it doesn't get enough momentum to hit the right people sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you. And up next on this is Wahid. Go ahead, Wahid.
Thank you. That's a very good question. I think, as I mentioned in my introductory remarks, we must not forget that PIPS is for its members. It's the members who drive PIPS, and the board needs to have a good line of engagement and communication with members. Having said that, I know the past 2 years have been very difficult and challenging, and we haven't been able to engage with members as much as we would have had in the normal circumstances. I can't cover this in 90 seconds. There's so much to do. Members must be engaged. Members must know that they are heard. And I know that we have structures in place, but for many ordinary members, those structures are too complex for them to get things through to the board members. I'll give you one example. Like, we have opened these observers so people can attend meetings. Honestly, I find that when we are getting them in and out of the meeting room, because now it's a closed session, now it's an open session, I find it very disrespectful. If my employer does that to me, to say, come in the meeting, get out now come back, get out now, I will not go to that meeting. I would like that members, the board meeting should be open to all members, but members would themselves not want to attend because they would say, I will read the minutes and I will fully understand what really went on. And I think those are the kind of changes we want to.
Time is up, Wahid. Thank you. Matt, you're up next.
Thanks for this. Yeah, I think I have a good perspective on this, given our bargaining unit has sort of very unbalanced demographics, and we very much put at the front of our minds in bargaining, how do we make sure this deal works for everyone, not just the largest parts of the group? And when we look at this survey data, actually looking at, okay, does this actually, what are the smaller groups and segments of our union saying, and how do we make sure everything works for them as well? Part of that is also understanding who is not responding. And I find that's been missing from a lot of the sort of headline numbers we get about, oh yeah, PIPS member said this. It's like, well, okay, the people who responded said that, and what do we really understand about who's responding and not? So I think there's a fair bit we can do to have a more data-driven approach to making sure we're getting at the views of all members. Over.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Stacey, you're up next.
I think we have to make ourselves available to the members. A lot of us seem to be perceived as sitting in ivory towers and not listening to the members. So we have to make ourselves available to the members via forums, via being able to take their calls and listen to what they say. Also, you need to know that your membership has a voice through the AGM, and the board has to listen to that voice. So from there, I think the two ways: make ourselves available and actually listen and pay attention to what's being said from our members and from the AGM. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Stacey. Dave, you're up next on this one.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we do have structures in place. We have subgroups and branches, and we have the regional executive, which all the directors are a member of. And that's one area where, members can get their issues raised. But I've had a lot of success in the workplace with simple lunch and learns, and, having town halls and Q&As. We definitely need to engage the members directly. And I think having member engagement events, whether, you can pick a topic that are going to bring people out, but then that opens things up, so they may bring up something else that's happening in the workplace. And that's where I've been successful with engaging with members and bringing those types of issues to the board. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dave. And next up, we have Sherry.
Thank you. It's very hard in an organization with, what are we at, 54,000 people, to get all the voices heard. The voices tend to congregate in larger constituencies, and sometimes those are drowned out. I mean, if anybody's been following the chat today, there's been quite a few members who have felt unheard by PIPS over the last few months regarding vaccine mandates. And yet I know from my work with PIPS, that I think is catching a bunch of us by surprise, because we wouldn't have thought that's an issue. But clearly there are concerns that our members need to be heard by us and to understand. So how to achieve it? I'm afraid we're going to have to take a good look at it and put it into place by design with our processes and strategies to achieve it. Because right now it appears to me that our systems are set to choke off the discussions rather than to open them up wide throttle so they can be heard. This is what I've seen repeatedly in my other work within PIPS, and it has been a concern. So we need to perhaps look at this from a baseline level of how to open up the communication higher to hear these issues as they're emerging and to shorten that lag time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And last on this one, Greg, you're up.
Thank you very much, Lise. I think the biggest thing is listening. First of all, how can you bring any concerns to the board of directors is what the question indicated, if you really don't know what the issues are. So the biggest first step is actually listening to the members, but also engaging with the members. That may be, because we're into the COVID world now, is maybe through Zoom like this, holding weekly, monthly, biannual, every 6 months, whatever, chats with membership, engaging them to find out what the issues are. And then, of course, if it is something that needs to be addressed, then and through a policy procedure or whatever it may be, whether it be through the workplace, which we would bring it through the consultation teams, the advisory council, or if it is related to PIPs in regards to vaccinations, unvaccinated, then of course, yes, bringing it to the board of directors. I also know that reverse engineering this question is very important, because as an NCR director, you are representing the NCR region on the board of directors. You need to make sure that you're paying attention during the board meetings, because if something is said that may affect your members, it's something that you need to make sure that you speak up. And I know that happened in the past when we were looking at a staff reorg within the NCR office. And I was very concerned. I wasn't concerned about, the level of service, but just how it was going to impact our membership in the NCR. So I immediately, once I heard it, brought it back to the membership and made sure that they understood how it was going to be impacted. Thank you.
We're at time. Thank you, Greg. And thank you to all of you. I know it can be quite stressful to answer questions that you had not seen well in advance of an event like this one. So we're now moving into the final segment of this town hall, where each of you will have an opportunity to give your closing statements. You've had a bit more time to prepare that one. That question was sent out to you in advance. Essentially, we were asking you to say what you would like members to take away about you and why they should vote for you. So the order again is mixed up on this one, and I'm going to be starting with Dave, if you want to go ahead.
Yep, my unmute. All right, thank you. Well, I bring a wide and varied experience to the table, having worked at National Defence for over the last 21 years and being a steward for more than 16 of them. I'm a good listener, and I make decisions based on facts and evidence. I'm approachable. I have a pretty decent communication skills, and I'm easy to reach, and I'm also responsive. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I'm very good at locating, the appropriate resources who can help, and then connecting them to the members. I'm always learning, and one of the ways I did during my first term was to volunteer and work on committees where I didn't have much knowledge or experience. It was a great way to learn more about the Institute. If you re-elect me, for a second term, I will continue to pursue improved working conditions and benefits for you, the members. And if a course correction is needed, I'm always open to suggestions. Thank you, and good luck to all the candidates.
Thank you, Dave. Greg is up next. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you very much, Miigwech. My name is Greg Scriver. As mentioned, I am Indigenous. I'm from Mohawk territory in Kagnawagi on the South Shores of Montreal. Why I've decided to come back and rerun again as an NCR director is to actually help the Institute bring forward truth and reconciliation. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to rerun again as NCR director. As mentioned before, I've got the 4 years of experience already. I know what it takes. I know how involved it can be and the amount of work that has happened within the NCR. I used to be the one that organized for 5 years, almost 6 years, the Labor Day parade each and every year. I believe we won the trophy 4 out of those 6 years for the best float. I've also sit on many other boards. I'm a vice president of the Bytown Fire Brigade, and I volunteer in Canada for the Canada 150. Instead of just getting out and watching some of the Canada 150 activities, I decided to volunteer, and I put a set a personal goal of doing 150 volunteer hours. Instead, I actually completed 300 volunteer hours in 2017. So with all that, I'm a person that gets things done. If you need something, you can reach me at any time. If any member at any time needs anything, I'm usually always available, and I will always be responsive in making sure that I get back to them. If I don't have the answer, I will find the answer, and I will make sure that it's satisfied to their satisfaction. I guess the biggest thing is that I like to work with other people as well. And as I mentioned earlier, I look around the screen of these 8 other candidates or 7 other candidates, and I know that I've worked with each and every one of them on different files and different things over the years. So I know we could definitely work with each other in a capacity as an NCR director. I'm passionate, as you probably, as Lee's even said earlier, about the Indigenous issues. So that's one of the main reasons why I want to make sure that we're bringing forth some of the training and some of that education. So thank you, Miigwech.
Thank you, Greg. Next up is Stacey. Go ahead, Stacey.
I'm Stacey Mclaren. I'm the person that people call when they have steward questions. I've been a member of the NCR executive since 2011, and I've been your chief steward for the last 3.5 years. What people can take away from me is the fact that I listen, actively listen. And if I can't get the answer for them right away, I always go and I look for it. What I feel for my members is a sense of pride at the work we do, a sense of professionalism for working with others, and empathy for all members. What I hope to get if being supported for election is I want people to get out and vote. I want people to get out and vote for the people that will represent you the best. And if it's me, thank you in advance for your vote. If it's not me, thank you for voting. I want the voices of all members to be heard. And to do that, you have to put your vote out there so you get the best representation that you can at the board level. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey. And Wahid, you're next. Wahid.
Thank you. Sorry, it takes a while to unmute and all that with all these little buttons on this little screen. Thank you for the
recording in
opportunity.
progress.
What is this happening? Thank you for the opportunity, and I got distracted with something else that came up on the system. I have a track record. I have experience. I have worked on bargaining. I have negotiated scientific integrity policy. I have negotiated employee wellness support program and sick leave. I have negotiated many issues on behalf of our members. I have participated and led task forces, union management task forces, representing all the other public sector unions as well. I've been a consultation team president, and I have been a board member for the past 3 years dealing with COVID and other issues. So I bring a solid track record. When I do something, I want to make sure that it is done well. What is important to me for members is that you will always be welcome to talk about the issues which I will see from your perspective. Don't thank me for that. I want to thank you for that, because that's how I put myself into your shoes to better understand and scope up the issue and find a solution that actually works. I get a lot of our colleagues who come and thank me for the work that I have done for them, but equally when they are angry and they are not happy, they feel comfortable to come and talk to me because they know that I'm going to listen. I will not shout on anyone. I will not fight with anybody. Make sure that if you are distressed, I will be there for you. I will listen. And I'm hoping that you will give me another opportunity to serve you. And I'm hoping that I will have the great pleasure of not just being elected, but for members who have issues, they will feel comfortable to come contact me, speak to me, whether it's on a virtual word or whether it is in person. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
Thank you. And next up is Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you for this. So I'd say I care deeply about protecting public sector institutions and jobs for the long term and for the benefit of society, not just us. And I'm interested in focusing on the issues that matter. And for me, that's like, I still love my job as a researcher. I want to keep working in my job. And for that to occur, my workplace still needs to be a good place to work. So in my time as an elected executive, or in this case as a director, I spend my time focused on issues that will make our workplaces better on a day-to-day basis. And having lived through the Harper era as a researcher, I know the stakes of the fight, and that, you know, I'm only 15 years into government. I believe that there will be another government like that to come, and we need to be ready to fight like our jobs depend on it, because they will. And as many of the other folks have said, to do that kind of thing, we need to work together, because there's different ones of us who will be under threat at different times and different issues, and we need to be there for each other and not fight with each other. We need to be ready to stand together. In terms of my skills, like my day job is essentially to create and synthesize science in ways that senior military officers and decision makers can understand. And I found that served me equally well in consultation at the bargaining table, dealing with senior decision makers there. And I believe it's going to be valuable in the board of directors as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Next is Sherry. Go ahead, Sherry.
Thank you. What I would like to see for this next few years with PIPS is a focus back on the membership and what their needs are at the lowest levels. There should be a common expectation when regarding how many days it takes to get a phone call returned by an ERO. The fact that case files shouldn't go missing when somebody has moved and they need help with their file. We need members being able to get answers to the questions when they have them. We need outreach. We need follow-on. We have such a great resource in our retired members, and yet we barely seem to scratch the surface of capitalizing on their abilities and experiences and their talent that we could use for moving ourselves along to look after our regular members that are stuck in the workplace most days. So I can see, to me, PIPS has a lot of opportunities and potential for improvement, and so much potential that we need to fulfill. So for me, I would like to be on the board to be able to push us to be able to allow us to reach that potential. I can see it. I can see where we need to go. And the members, I think, have a lot of frustrations and they're feeling not heard. And we need to have a conduit so that the members can get to where they want for getting the services that they need. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Sherry. Two more people. Glenn, you're up next.
Thank you. I hate polishing my own apple. Please, folks, take a look at the resumes that are posted on the PIPS website. The accomplishment I'm most proud of, and it goes back quite a ways, is I led a hostile certification drive of the Nuclear Regulatory Group. So, and hostile, it sounds like fun. It actually was a lot of work, and it was very challenging. You know, I've won the Institute Service Award. I was a branch president for roughly a decade. I've been on the NCR executive for a heck of a long time. Did 2 terms as the NCR chief steward, and then stood down to let somebody younger take over. Also was a group president for a couple terms, and then stood down again. Been involved in national consultation, et cetera, et cetera. If you want proof for somebody who's going to get out and do stuff for you, excuse me while I feed my puppy dog, a good example or a good sense of trust that will happen is look to what they've done in the past. So please take a look at my resume. I've got a long history of accomplishing positive things for PIPS, and I'd like to continue as your director. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. And the luck of the draw gives Mark the last word tonight. Go ahead, Mark.
Lucky me. Thank you. Thanks to everybody who attended, and thanks again to all the candidates. I have 14 years of proven experience. I have been involved in the union from the branch, subgroup, group, and sat on PIPS committees with some of the people on this in this panel here right now. I have been a member of my bargaining team for the AFS bargaining team for the past 6 years and successfully bargained 2 very good contracts. I have, in the past 4 years, taken on the role of trying to deal with Phoenix and compensation issues for my members, and I've resolved hundreds of tickets over the past 4 years. I have been vice president of the AFS group for quite a while, and it comes with a lot of work and a lot of responsibility. I have handled grievances from the 1st level to the 3rd level. I've been involved wherever I can. I get involved with PIPs. I'm very passionate about this, and I'm very passionate about supporting my members. I've dealt with harassment complaints and discrimination complaints. Last year, when the Black Lives Matters movement really took off, I pushed my management to actually have a committee apart from all the other committees just to focus on that. And I demanded that it be led by members of our Black community, and which it is. I only sit in this committee as an observer, and if they need something, I get it through our group to funding or whatever they need to move along. So take it, as Glenn said, take a look at the resumes, and you'll see what I have accomplished. And that's only a portion of what I've done. I'm also a community volunteer as well. I like to give back to the community. And if elected, trust me, I won't disappoint you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And thank you to all of our candidates. A round of applause. If we were in a big room, you'd hear it from all the members, but we've kept them muted so we could hear you today. So thank you very much. You've helped make this a successful event. I'm going to now remove myself from spotlight. And I said, Mark, you had the last word, but Tom's going to get the last word. So over to you, Tom.
Yes, my committee will be used to me getting the last word, and ruefully so in most cases. I want to thank all of you, especially for being the guinea pigs for this, for stepping up, for putting yourselves forward as candidates. The members appreciate it. The committee appreciates it. I appreciate the work you put into this evening, especially since I know most of you worked a full day and then took this on top of it. Thank you so much. We've recorded the session so that members will be able to see it who couldn't attend for whatever reason, and we will be putting it on the PIP's website. On behalf of the Elections Committee, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank the members as well. I know there was a spirited discussion in the chat that wasn't always on topic for what we were talking about at the time. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the members reaching out and having their say, and I think there should be more avenues to do that. I look forward to our next sessions coming up for Vice President and President, and I wish you all well. Please stay safe and be careful during this fourth wave. Take care of you and your families, and have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you.